He found her shivering outside his camp, half alien, half beast, and fully alone. The wind howled across the icy planet. Sharp flakes of snow cut through the air like little knives. Eli stood at the edge of his small camp, pulling his jacket tighter. His boots crunched in the snow as he scanned the dark trees beyond. This place, Planet Vorn 7, was cold, lonely, and full of strange sounds. Eli had been living here alone for 3 months, repairing old machines from a forgotten war. He worked for scraps. No one visited him. No one cared. Until now. Tonight felt different. Something was watching him. He turned toward the sound of soft crunching. Footsteps in the snow. Slow. Uneven. Like something wounded. "Hello," he called out, his voice shaking in the cold air. No answer. Only the wind. He took a few steps forward. Then he saw it. A shape moved between the trees. Tall, thin, and hunched over. Glowing yellow eyes stared back at him. Eli froze. Was it an animal? A monster? Then it stepped into the light. It was a girl, or at least part girl. Her skin was pale silver, almost glowing. Long ears pointed back like a wolf's. Sharp claws on her fingers. But her eyes, those weren't the eyes of a beast. They looked scared, lost, freezing. She didn't speak. She just stared at him, breathing hard. Snow clung to her bare arms and legs. Her body trembled. She was shivering. Eli slowly raised his hands to show he wasn't a threat. "Are you hurt?" he asked. Still no answer. But she took one step forward, then collapsed in the snow. Eli rushed to her. "Hey, stay with me." Her skin was ice cold. She looked half dead from the cold. Her claws twitched weakly. Her lips moved, but no words came out, only a soft growl. He looked at her, then back at his small camp. He had one extra blanket. Just one. But she would die without help. "Hang on," he whispered. He pulled the thick wool blanket from his cot and ran back to her. Gently, he wrapped it around her body. At first, she flinched, baring her fangs. But when she felt the warmth, she relaxed. Just a little. Eli didn't know what she was. Alien? Beast? Something in between. But she wasn't trying to hurt him. She was scared. Cold. Alone. He couldn't leave her there. He sat down beside her, just outside the door to his camp, and waited. The wind howled again. Snow piled up. But the girl, wrapped in the blanket, curled up like a sleeping animal. Her ears twitched. Her breathing slowed. Hours passed. When the sun finally rose, Eli stirred from his spot. His legs were numb. His back hurt. But he looked over at the girl. And she was gone. The blanket was missing too. He stood up fast and looked around. Tracks in the snow led back into the forest. Small clawed footprints. She took the blanket. He said aloud, shocked, and a little amused. Okay then. Maybe she was stronger than she looked. Maybe she didn't need him. But something in his chest felt strange, empty. He went back inside, made a weak cup of synth coffee, sat by the window, watching the snowy forest, thinking. Why had she come to him? He didn't expect to see her again. But that night, just as the sun dipped behind the hills, he heard something outside the door. A soft thump. Eli stood slowly, opened the door. There she was, the same alien werewolf girl, wearing his blanket around her shoulders. Her eyes met his, still glowing, still fierce, but now they didn't look afraid. She stepped closer, sniffed the air, then pointed at him. "Mate," she said softly. Eli blinked. "What?" She said it again, louder this time. "Mate." He laughed nervously. No, I think you're confused." But she wasn't listening. She walked right past him and sat near the heater, curled up again, like she belonged there. Eli stood there in the doorway, staring. He had given a cold stranger his only blanket, and now she had come back. calling him her mate. She watches him sleep, then snarls at his reflection in the mirror. Eli wasn't sure if he was dreaming. He rubbed his eyes, looked again, and no, it wasn't a dream. The strange alien girl was still there, curled up in front of his heater, his old blanket wrapped around her like it was hers now. Her silver skin glowed faintly in the soft light. Her long wolf-like ears twitched as she listened to every sound. She looked peaceful, but Eli knew better. Those eyes, golden and sharp, were still watching him. Even when she seemed to rest, she was alert, like a wild creature trapped in a human room. "You're really here," he whispered, more to himself than to her. The girl didn't answer. She just tilted her head, then slowly stood and sniffed the air, like she was searching for something familiar. Eli backed up a little. "Hey, easy. I'm not gonna hurt you." She moved closer, not to attack, but to study him. She sniffed his shirt, touched his sleeve gently with her clawed fingers, then placed one hand flat against his chest. "Mate," she said again. Eli sighed. "You keep saying that word. What does it mean to you?" She blinked, confused. She didn't understand all his words, but she could feel his voice, his hesitation, his heartbeat. She stared at him a long time, then finally stepped back. She seemed disappointed, like something was missing. Later that night, Eli tried to sleep on the small cot. He left her by the heater. She didn't seem tired, but she also didn't try to leave. He pulled his backup blanket over himself and closed his eyes. The wind outside shook the metal walls. In the silence, he felt something strange, not cold, not fear, but watched. He opened his eyes. She was standing next to him, watching him, not blinking, not moving, just staring at him while he slept. You okay?" he asked softly. She didn't answer, only leaned down and sniffed his hair. Eli tensed. She tilted her head, then touched the corner of his eye gently. "Sleep," she whispered. He exhaled slowly. "Yeah, I was trying." Then she did something that truly scared him. She looked at the small mirror on the wall and snarled. A low, guttural growl came from her chest. Her claws raised, her lip curled. She looked like she might attack. Whoa. Eli sat up quickly. "It's just a mirror. It's not another person." She didn't understand. She lunged at the mirror and smacked it with her hand. The mirror cracked. Her reflection shattered into pieces. Only then did she calm down, breathing heavy, shoulders shaking. Eli stared. You don't know what a reflection is, do you?" She looked at him with big, confused eyes. He stepped slowly toward her, picked up the cracked mirror, and held it out to show her his face. "See, that's just me, not someone else." Then he turned the mirror toward her. She flinched, but didn't growl this time. She looked at her own face in the broken glass, touched her cheek slowly. A soft sound came from her throat, something like a whimper or a memory. Maybe she had never seen herself before. Eli felt something shift inside him. She wasn't just alien. She wasn't just part beast. She was someone who had been kept in a place where mirrors didn't exist, where warmth, kindness, and self-awareness were never given. He set the mirror down and stepped back, gave her space. She hugged the blanket tighter around herself, turned away, and sat on the floor. They said nothing for a while. Just two souls trapped in the cold, one human, one alien, not sure what to do next. Over the next 2 days, she stayed. She didn't try to leave. She didn't hurt anything. She only explored his small outpost, sniffing wires, staring at the blinking lights, and poking the food dispenser like it was magic. She wouldn't eat most human food, but she liked dried meat strips. She would sit cross-legged, chewing them slowly, while watching Eli with those glowing eyes. She didn't sleep much, but when she did, it was curled up in a tight ball, like she was protecting herself from something invisible. One night, Eli saw her shaking in her sleep, Small whines came from her throat. Her claws dug into the floor. A nightmare. He walked over slowly, knelt beside her, and placed a hand gently on her shoulder. She jolted awake, eyes wide, claws ready. Hey, it's okay," he said softly. "Just a dream." She looked at him, breathing hard. Then, without warning, she leaned against him, head resting on his chest, arms loosely around his waist. Elid froze, then slowly relaxed. He didn't push her away. They sat like that until her breathing calmed. He didn't know what kind of pain she had seen before, but in that moment, he understood something. She wasn't calling him mate because of romance or instinct. She was calling him that because he was the first being in her life who didn't hurt her. On the fourth morning, Eli woke up to find her gone again. "No," he whispered. "Not again." His heart raced. He ran outside, looking around. But before he could call out, he saw it, fresh footprints leading behind the camp. He followed them through the snow, around the back of the outpost. And there she was, standing in the soft dawn light, watching the sky. Her ears twitched. She turned and saw him, and smiled. A small, quiet smile. She pointed at the sky and said something in her language, a word he didn't understand, but her voice was soft, almost peaceful. Eli walked closer. She didn't run. She took his hand in hers, claws brushing gently against his fingers. Then she spoke a human word, not one he had taught her. A new one. Home. She fights a machine beast to protect him, and almost dies. The sky above Vorn 7 turned gray. Wind picked up again. Snow danced in wild circles. Eli checked the power grid outside the camp, pulling on frozen wires, fingers numb. Inside, the alien werewolf girl, now silently known as Varka in his mind, was sitting near the heater again. She had learned not to touch the wires. She had learned how to chew slowly, how to wear the coat he gave her, and how to whisper the word home. She was learning. So was Eli. But peace never lasted long on Vorn 7. Powers dropping, Eli muttered as he adjusted the settings. Might need to use the backup cells tonight. He turned to head inside when he heard it. Click. Whir. Click. Not animal. Not weather. Something artificial. His breath froze in his throat. Then came the sound of metal feet crunching over snow. He looked up. His blood went cold. A patrol drone. Tall, spider-legged, red-eyed, scanning the ground with heat vision. No, he whispered. They're not supposed to patrol this sector. He ran toward the camp. But it was too late. The machine had already locked on to the heat signature inside his outpost. A red beam scanned the walls. Then it spoke in a cold, robotic voice. Unauthorized life form detected. Target marked. Class X hybrid. Preparing to neutralize. Eli ran faster. Wait. Stop. The drone raised a blaster from its side. Then, a silver blur burst through the door. Varka. Her ears were back. Her claws extended. Her eyes glowing bright gold. She leaped at the drone with terrifying speed. The machine fired, but she rolled, flipped through the snow, and slammed into it with full force. Clang. The drone stumbled. Eli stood frozen. He had never seen her like this before. Not scared, not calm, but wild. Her fur bristled. Her fangs flashed. She roared louder than any beast Eli had ever heard. She was fighting to protect him. Varka clawed at the drone's camera eye, tearing into it. Sparks flew. The machine staggered and grabbed her with one metal leg, slamming her into a snowbank. Eli ran forward, yelling, "Varka, get out of there." She didn't listen. She rose again, bleeding now, growling louder. The drone turned to Eli. Secondary target detected. Cleansing both. Its blaster charge. Varka howled. She charged again, leaped high, spinning midair, and tore the blaster arm clean off. Boom. The machine sparked, screeched, and collapsed. Eli dropped to his knees in shock. The snow was quiet again. But Varka wasn't moving. He crawled over to her, hands shaking. No, no, no. Varka, come on. Blood soaked the snow under her. Her breathing was slow. She had burns across her side. One leg twisted wrong. Her claws were cracked. But her eyes, they opened when he touched her. You? Okay, she whispered in broken English. Eli held her close. You're asking me that? You nearly got killed. She gave a weak smile. You? Warm. Safe. Worth it. Eli's throat tightened. You don't have to protect me, he said softly. I should be the one protecting you. Varka's hand touched his chest. You gave blanket. Eli blinked. Is that why? Just because of a blanket? She didn't answer. But her eyes said everything. To her, that small act of kindness had meant the world. Eli carried her inside. It took all his strength. He laid her on the bed, wrapped her in the second blanket, and activated the old medkit. The small robotic arms buzzed and clicked, scanning her wounds. Unknown biology, the medkit said. Treatment. Unstable. Proceed with caution. Eli slammed the override. Do whatever you can. She's not dying. Not here. Not now. The machine injected her with a slow repair fluid. Her body twitched. She groaned in pain. Eli sat beside her all night. He never left. Not once. He whispered words she might not understand. Told stories from Earth. About trees, stars, music. Her breathing stayed weak, but steady. Sometime, in the dark hours before dawn, her hand found his again. Held tight. In the morning, Eli stepped outside for air. The drone's broken body still lay there. Metal limbs frozen in the snow. But something else was under it. A small tag, half crushed. Eli picked it up and turned it over. It had an emblem. A triangle inside a circle. Numbers. Military codes. And one chilling word. Puro P-R-T of Puro GCT-MOO-and-FANG. He felt his stomach drop. She wasn't just some alien girl who wandered into his life. She was created, designed, built for war. And now, they would know where she was, and they would come for her. Back inside, Varka stirred. Her voice was barely there. They send more. Eli nodded slowly. Probably. Her claws tightened around the blanket. They want. Take me. Not if I have anything to say about it. Her golden eyes met his. He wasn't her master, not her owner. But he was hers, and she was his. Not by force, but by choice. As the wind outside picked up again, Eli began packing supplies. Food, tools, weapons. They couldn't stay here. Not anymore. Varka sat up slowly, her wounds still healing. Where go? Eli glanced at her. Somewhere they can't find us. She smiled weakly. We go together. He nodded. Always. And for the first time, she whispered a new word. Not mate, not home. But Eli. His name. Spoken like it was something sacred. They come for her in the night and call her a failed weapon. The snow had stopped falling, but the cold felt sharper. Eli could feel it in the air, the kind of silence that didn't mean peace, the kind that came before something bad. Varka had healed just enough to walk. Not fully, not fast, but she refused to be carried. She followed Eli step by step as they left the outpost behind, climbing into the thick woods beyond the ridge. They moved carefully, quietly. Eli kept checking the tracker he built from scrap tech. No signals, no drones, yet. But Varka kept sniffing the wind. Her ears twitched. Her claws flexed. She knew. They were coming. By the third night, they'd reached an old mining tunnel, half buried in snow, long abandoned. The roof had holes, and the inside smelled like rust and ice. But it was shelter. Eli set up a small fire and made a thin soup from dried roots and powder. Varka drank it slowly, her hands shaking. She hadn't spoken much since the fight with the drone, but her eyes were always watching him, always near. As the fire flickered low, Eli looked at her. "You said they once," he whispered. "Who are they, Varka?" She stayed quiet for a while. Then she pulled back the blanket from her shoulder, revealing the faint brand burned into her skin. A symbol, the same triangle inside a circle. But this one had words under it, in alien script. Eli scanned it with his old reader. The words translated slowly. Unit, X99 / designation. Moonfang asset / loyalty incomplete. He stared at the screen, then at her. "You're a weapon," he said softly. She didn't deny it. But then she pointed at her heart and shook her head. Not anymore. That night, Eli slept with one eye open, blaster beside him. Varka didn't sleep. She crouched near the tunnel entrance, watching. And just past midnight, she growled. A soft, low sound deep in her chest. Eli was up in seconds. "What is it?" Then he heard it too. A soft hum in the sky. A flash of red lights sweeping the ground. Spotlights. Ships. They had found them. "Move." Eli grabbed his gear, pulled Varka up. They rushed through the back of the tunnel, crawling over old crates and frozen machines. But before they could escape, a deep, commanding voice echoed through the mine. "X99. Stop. Do not flee. Return to control." Varka froze. Eli pulled her hand. "Don't listen. Come on." The voice spoke again. "You are broken, X99. But we can fix you. Return to your purpose." Varka trembled. Her claws scratched the wall. Eli stepped in front of her. "You don't have to obey them." A figure stepped into the firelight. Tall, armored, glowing eyes behind a black helmet. A soldier, followed by two more. And behind them, a smooth floating machine with silver tendrils and glowing wires. It hummed with strange energy. "Subject has bonded with unauthorized host," the machine said coldly. "Recommend deletion of human and reprogramming of unit." Eli raised his blaster. "You'll have to get through me." The lead soldier didn't flinch. He took a slow step forward. "That creature beside you is not a girl. She is not your friend. She was made to kill, to obey. She is a failed prototype. Nothing more." Eli shook his head. "No. She chose to protect me. She saved my life. She learned my name." "Program error," the soldier replied. "Emotional bonding was unstable. She was not meant to feel." Then he turned his cold gaze to Varka. "Return. Now. Or we will erase your mate's memory before your eyes." Varka stood still. Completely still. Then she took one step forward. Eli's heart sank. "No, Varka, don't." But she didn't walk toward them. She walked past Eli. Slowly, silently. And then she roared. With a fury that shook the tunnel, Varka charged the soldiers, claws flashing, voice filled with pain and rage. The first soldier fired. She dodged. She slammed into him, tearing off his helmet, revealing a pale, scarred face underneath. Human. He screamed as she pinned him down. The second soldier launched a net. Eli shot the device out of the air. The floating machine buzzed louder. Unit corrupted. Commence full reset. It fired a beam of blue energy toward her. She screamed in pain. Her body crackled with sparks. Eli rushed in, shot at the machine. Again, until the casing cracked and it dropped to the floor in smoke. Varka fell to her knees, gasping. Eli pulled her into his arms. "Stay with me," he whispered. "You're not a weapon. You're not theirs." Her voice trembled. "They made me." He nodded. "But you broke free." The last soldier dropped his gun and ran. Eli didn't chase him. He just held her. Varka's breath slowed. Her skin was burned, her body weak again. But she smiled. They can't take me now. Eli smiled back, tears in his eyes. No, they can't. He gently brushed the hair from her face. You're not failed, Varka. Then, what am I? She asked softly. He took her hand. You're someone worth fighting for. They stayed in that broken tunnel until morning. Then they walked again, slow, careful steps, into the wildlands, where no soldier would follow, and where Varka could begin to discover who she really was. Not a tool, not a beast, but a living soul. He holds her hand under the moon. She tells him her real name. They walked through the frost-covered trees in silence. Every step was slow, every breath visible in the cold air. Above them, 2 pale moons floated in the night sky, one full, one cracked like an old bone. Varka leaned against Eli with every step. Her wounds were still healing, not just on her body, but inside too. The attack had shaken her, not just because of pain, but because of the voices, the commands, the memories she had tried to forget. Eli held her gently as they moved. He didn't speak much, but his hand never let go of hers. He knew she needed more than words now. She needed someone to stay, someone to choose her, not because of a code or an order, but because he wanted to. They found a quiet valley between 2 icy cliffs. A small stream of water trickled through stones, unfrozen only by a thermal vent hidden deep underground. Eli set up a new camp there. Not a base, not a shelter, a home. Varka curled beside the fire, her arms around her knees. Her silver skin reflected the flame's light. Her long ears drooped a little. Her tail lay still. She looked tired, more tired than he had ever seen her. Eli sat beside her and handed her a warm cup. Inside was broth he made from roots and herbs. She sniffed it, then drank slowly. After a few minutes, her voice came, soft, careful. They call me Keksh 99. Eli nodded. I know. She stared at the fire. That is not my name. He looked at her gently. Then what is? She didn't answer at first. Instead, she drew something in the dirt with her claw, a looping shape, like a spiral with 4 cuts through it. Eli tilted his head. Is that a word? She nodded. Old word, from before. Lab, before cage. Her voice trembled. I do not remember all, but I remember. Mother. Eli blinked. Your mother. Not machine mother, not scientist. Real mother. Soft voice, warm skin. She called me this. She touched the symbol in the dirt. Saluna. Eli repeated it. Saluna. She smiled softly. It means moonborn. He looked up at the sky. Like you were born under the moons. Yes, she whispered. And I saw them again. With you. She reached over and touched his hand. You call me Varka. That is good name too. Strong. Safe. But, if you want, you may call me Saluna. Eli stared at her, heart full. Saluna. He whispered, holding her hand tighter. I'm honored. That night, they lay under the stars, side by side. Varka curled close to him, not because of cold, but because she wanted to be near. Eli, she said quietly, do you have people, family? He nodded slowly. Had. Not anymore. Just me now. She made a soft sound. You gave blanket, even when you were alone. He smiled. Guess that's how I was raised. Varka tilted her head. Your species, strange. Yeah, he chuckled. We are. But good. He looked at her. You're good too, Saluna. She blinked, surprised. No one say that before. Then they were wrong, Eli said. You're brave, kind, and you saved me more than once. I broke things. You protected me. I have claws. You held my hand. I was made in lab. But your heart is real. Tears filled her eyes. She wiped them quickly. Sorry. Weak. No, Eli whispered. Real. They watched the moons in silence. Above them, stars danced, and in the middle of a frozen planet, warmth grew between two souls who should have never met, but were now impossible to separate. In the morning, Salumna brought him a small gift, 3 blue flowers growing near the vent, rare, glowing faintly. Food? Eli asked. She shook her head, not for eating, for bonding, like a gift. Yes, she said, my kind, when they choose mate, they give this flower. Eli blinked. So, you're giving this to me? She looked down shyly. Yes, but only if you want. Eli held the flowers, touched by the softness of the gesture. No one's ever given me anything like this. She looked nervous. I can take it back. No, he said quickly. I want it. Thank you. She smiled. A full, warm smile. Not like a beast. Not like a soldier. Like a woman. Like someone finally free to feel. That night, a new sound echoed across the valley. A soft humming. Not a drone. Not a soldier. A message. Eli activated his old comms device and picked up the weak signal. To any survivors, rebel group freeborn seeking shelter and allies. Coordinates attached. Resistance against Moonfang project active. Repeat, not a trap. He looked at Salumna. She was watching him carefully. Others, she said. Maybe, he replied. People like us. People who escaped. We go. He looked at the fire. At the cracked moon above. At the flower she gave him. Then at her. Only if you want to. She nodded slowly. I want. Her creators send the new version after her. Stronger, faster, crueler. 3 days passed since the message came. Eli and Salumna stayed in the valley. They talked, hunted, cooked together. They even laughed. A soft kind of laughter, the kind that grows from trust. For the first time in her life, Salumna didn't wake up afraid. But peace, she was learning, never stayed long. The fire was low that night. Snow fell again, light and silent. Eli was sharpening his blade. Salumna lay on her side, watching the moonlight dance across the walls of their cave. You trust this signal? She asked. No, Eli replied. But I want to. I feel something coming. He looked up. How? Her ears twitched. The wind is wrong. Too quiet. Something heavy is moving through it. Eli stood up, grabbed his scanner, but there was no signal. Nothing, he muttered. That's how they made him, she said. Eli turned sharply. Him. She nodded. The new one. Her voice dropped. They called him Vornak. He is not like me. You've seen him before. She looked down. Only once. In the glass cage beside mine. What's he like? She hesitated. Fast. Perfect. No voice. No heart. Eli felt a chill crawl up his back. If they sent him, she whispered, he won't stop. That night, they didn't sleep. Eli stayed by the fire, one hand on his blaster, the other near the emergency flare. Salumna crouched outside the cave, watching the woods with glowing eyes. The snow stopped falling around midnight, and that's when they heard it. Crack. Crunch. Heavy steps. Not rushed. Not sneaky. Deliberate. Eli stepped out, aimed into the dark. You see anything? Salumna didn't answer. She was frozen. He's here, she whispered. Then a shadow stepped out of the trees. A tall figure. Not covered in fur, but thick-plated skin. Pale like steel, muscles built like armor. Red veins glowed under the surface. No clothes. No scars. No emotion. Just eyes. Hollow, black, endless. He didn't snarl. He didn't speak. He just walked forward. Eli fired first. 3 shots, straight to the chest. The figure didn't flinch. Saluna shouted, "Run!" But Eli stood his ground. The hybrid charged, so fast, the ground shook. Saluna slammed into it mid-run. They rolled through snow and stone, claws scraping, roars echoing. Eli aimed again, but they were moving too fast. The fight was brutal. Saluna bit into the hybrid's neck. No blood, just wires. Vornak grabbed her by the arm and slammed her into the ground. The scream she let out nearly broke Eli's heart. Saluna. He rushed forward, blade ready, but Vornak backhanded him, sending him flying. The air left Eli's lungs as he hit the snow. He blinked. His side burned. Vornak turned back to Saluna, grabbed her throat, lifted her into the air. Her legs kicked, her claws scratched, but he didn't let go. His glowing red veins pulsed. Eli gasped, coughing. He saw something fall from Saluna's hand, the blue flower she had given him, crushed into the snow. No, not like this. He reached into his belt, pulled the last tool he hadn't used, her old collar. Eli had kept it since the night they ran. He hated it, but now, maybe it could save her. He crawled to the side, flanking the hybrid. His hand trembled, but his aim was steady. He jumped and slammed the collar around Vornak's neck. Click. The hybrid turned. But too late. Eli smashed the activation switch. A surge of energy burst through the collar. The hybrid staggered, dropped Saluna. She fell, gasping for air. Vornak roared, not in pain, in confusion. He turned to Eli, started walking, even while sparking, even while burning. "How do I stop you?" Eli growled. Vornak didn't answer. He just came closer. Eli pulled the collar tighter, then remembered. These hybrids ran on a neural core. The collar could disrupt it, if overloaded. He looked down at the switch. Only one overload left. He looked at Saluna. Her eyes met his. They were full of fear, and something more. "Don't," she said weakly. "I have to." He smiled at her. "You gave me a flower, remember? Time to give something back." He pressed the overload. The collar exploded in sparks. Vornak seized up, jerking violently, then fell backward into the snow. Motionless, Eli collapsed next to him. His hands burned. His body ached. But Vornak wasn't moving anymore. "Eli?" Saluna crawled to him. "You hurt." He smiled. "Barely. Only a little. You used it. For me." He nodded. "Worth it." She leaned over, pressing her forehead to his. "You stupid, brave, human." He laughed softly. "You love me now." She pulled him into a kiss, not wild, not rushed, gentle, real. When she pulled back, her voice was shaking. "Yes, I do." Hours later, they buried the remains of Vornak under the snow. Saluna stood over the spot, breathing heavy. "He was never free," she said. "No," Eli agreed. "But you are." They stood in silence. Then she turned to him. "We can't stay here." He nodded. Agreed. "The signal. We follow it. Together. Always." They walked toward the rising sun. No more running. No more hiding. Just two souls, broken, healing, but stronger together. And behind them, in the snow, the crushed flower slowly began to bloom again. She chose death for freedom, but he chose her for life. The forest thinned as the sun rose. Eli and Saluna walked through open ground now, where the trees grew small and the wind moved faster. The snow was beginning to melt here. The valley below shimmered with heat coming from hidden vents beneath the soil. This place felt different, warmer, alive. They had followed the rebel signal for 2 days. Each step pulled them farther from the past and closer to something new, maybe even a future. But they weren't safe yet. Not truly. Not until the system that created her, the one that hunted her, was gone. They reached a small cliff just before dusk. Below it stood a small base, dug into the rock. Half hidden, half broken. But the signal came from there. Eli looked through his scope. "I see movement," he said. "Not soldiers. They're not wearing armor." Saluna crouched beside him, eyes sharp. "They're not Moonfang." "Not unless the project switched to beards and goggles," Eli smiled. Saluna didn't laugh. She looked nervous. "What if they don't want me?" Eli looked at her. "Then they're fools." She didn't speak. Her claws tapped the stone slowly. "What if they fear me?" she whispered. "What if they say I don't belong?" "Then we leave," he said. "I'll walk away with you, no matter what." She stared at him. "Even if I'm not human, even if I was made." He reached out and gently held her hand. "You weren't made. Not really. You were born. The moment you chose your own path." A small tear rolled down her cheek. She didn't wipe it away. They climbed down, approached slowly, hands raised. Guards at the entrance raised weapons at first, until one woman stepped forward, scanning them. "Eli Vance?" she asked. Eli nodded. "How do you know my name?" The woman tapped her wrist to display. "We intercepted your last signal. You sent out a flare when Fornak attacked." Eli glanced at Saluna. "Then you know who she is." "We do," the woman said. "We've been tracking the Moonfang projects for months. We thought X-99 was terminated." Saluna stepped forward. "I was, until he gave me a blanket." The woman blinked. "A blanket." Eli chuckled. "Long story. Inside the rebel base, it was warmer than anywhere they'd been. Real lights. Food that didn't come from dry packs. People, dozens of them. Young, old, human, alien. But none like her. Everywhere Saluna went, eyes followed. Some curious. Some scared. No one spoke to her. Eli noticed. He stayed close. "We don't have to stay," he whispered. She shook her head. "I want to try." They met with the rebel leader that night, an old man named Rennick, with silver skin and one mechanical eye. He studied Saluna for a long time. Then said, "You are not a weapon anymore, but the system that made you still sees you as one." "I know," she said. "We're planning to shut it down." Rennick said, "We found the core station. If we destroy it, the project ends." Eli leaned forward. "You have a plan." "We have a ship," Rennick said, "and a hole in their defenses. But we need someone who understands their codes." His eyes turned to Saluna. "You," he said, "could end them." Saluna looked at Eli. He didn't speak. This was her choice. "What happens to me if I go back?" she asked quietly. Rennick didn't lie. "They'll try to capture you, maybe kill you, or worse, turn you back." Saluna nodded slowly, then stood. "Then let's end them before they try." They left before sunrise, a small team. Eli, Saluna, Rennick, and 3 others. They flew a stealth skimmer through the high clouds, dodging satellites and drones. As they neared the Moonfang station, Saluna changed. Her eyes grew sharper, her steps quieter, like she remembered this place with her body, but not her soul. They landed near a vent shaft, slipped inside the metal corridors. Saluna led them through. Every hallway, she knew. Every camera, she avoided. They reached the core chamber without being seen. But as soon as they opened the final door, an alarm blared. Lights flashed red. Steel walls slammed down behind them, and from the center of the room, a voice echoed. "X-99. Return to position." A massive screen came to life. It showed her face, her old ID, her code, her rank. "Project terminated. Control failed. Initiating self-clean. It's going to wipe everything." Eli shouted. "Including us," Rennick growled. "We have to shut it down." But the console was locked. No one could access the system, except her. Saluna stepped forward, placed her hand on the interface. A glowing blue ring scanned her claws. Access granted. Numbers filled the air. Lines of code. "You sure about this?" Ely asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she spoke to the system. "I am not X99. The machine replied. "Name not recognized." "I am Saluna." "Name invalid." "Not to me," she whispered. Her claws moved faster, digging through lines of commands. Ely watched, helpless. She was rewriting herself, overriding the chain that bound her. "System overloading," the voice warned. "Biocore destabilizing." The room began to shake. Metal cracked. Steam burst from the vents. Saluna turned to Ely. Her voice was soft. "It's burning my blood. The override. I can't survive it." Ely rushed forward. "There must be another way." She touched his face. "You gave me life," she whispered. "Now let me use it. Don't you die on me, Saluna. Then come find me again, on the other side." And she smiled. Not like a weapon, not like a survivor, but like a woman who finally chose her own ending. The core exploded in light. Ely was thrown backward. Everything went white. Then, dark. He woke up 3 days later, in the rebel base, burned, bruised, but alive. "Where is she?" he whispered. Rennick stood by the window. "We don't know," he said. "Her body was never found." Ely's throat tightened. "No. But the core is gone," Rennick said, "and every Moonfang project with it." Weeks passed. Ely didn't leave the valley. He stayed where she had laughed, where she had kissed him, where she had given him a flower. Then, one night, under the cracked moon, he heard a soft growl. Turned. A shape stood at the tree line. Tall, silver, glowing eyes. She stepped forward, limping, bruised, scarred, but alive. "You came back," he whispered. She dropped to her knees. "You were my choice," she said. "I chose you again." He ran to her, held her, tight, tears falling down his face. "You didn't die." "I tried," she said, voice shaking. "But my heart stayed with you." And he smiled through tears. "Then let's build something new. Not a camp, not a cave. A home," she asked. "Yes, a real one." And this time, they would build it together.